Hello, wherever you are watching this. Happy Friday. Happy Friday afternoon. It's sunny here in Massachusetts, so kind of enjoying a break from the we got like a whole winter's worth of weather in a week, is what it felt like. My guest today is also in Massachusetts and can probably agree with me. If you are watching this, you are someone who works inside or alongside nonprofit organizations. Maybe you're an accidental techie and you tune in every Friday afternoon at 12:30 to learn something about making your life easier, making better decisions around the technology that you're using to communicate, raise money, and engage your supporters. My name is Maureen. I'm a nonprofit digital strategist and technology coach. Just about every Friday afternoon, I host a conversation with a colleague. This is kind of a colleague and a friend that I'm bringing in today. I'm so excited to be talking about a topic that is touching every single one of us right now, which is hiring and the great resignation. And where are all my nonprofit staffers? Where are they all going? So I'm thrilled to be joined by Eric Burtchell of Mustard Seed Communities. Eric, how's your Friday treating you so far?
Well, like you said, I'm going to echo your thoughts that the sun is shining, so it's a great day in Boston. The snow's melting. We are happy here.
We are happy. There's birds out there. We're not in the frozen tundra for right now. So, Eric, can you say a little bit about the work of Mustard Seed Communities? And then we're going to talk about what you've been struggling with since you were hired at Mustard Seed, which is staffing. So, want to give us a little overview of the organization and your work?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on, Maureen. So like you said, my name is Eric Burtchell. I'm the Director of Fundraising and Donor Engagement here at Mustard Seed Communities. Our office is located in the Boston area, but we were started in 1978 in Jamaica by a gentleman named Gregory Ramkissoon, who at the time was not a priest, but now is a Monsignor in Jamaica. There, he started to take care of abandoned children who were living on squatted land. Essentially, that turned into taking care of children with disabilities who were being abandoned in police stations, hospitals, trash cans, the street. And from there in 1978, 43 years later, we've grown up. We're in 5 different countries. We have residential care for over 600 children and adults with disabilities, along with a various amount of social programs in these countries. So we're in Jamaica, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Zimbabwe, and Malawi.
Unbelievable. The work that you do is so important. And, our paths crossed about a year ago now, right? Wasn't it February?
I think this is our anniversary. Yeah.
February. Happy anniversary, Eric. I've been working with the team at Mustard Seed for a couple of years now in a variety of ways, largely technology related. And when the leadership at Mustard Seed Communities wanted to bring in someone savvy, like an Eric, to help run their fundraising and donor engagement programs, they asked me to lend a little hand around interviewing and sort of helping them make a good decision. And there were candidates to choose from at that point. Eric, you won the deal, but we did speak with quite a few people during that interview process. And you and I have stayed connected since you started that role a year ago. And I would love it if you would spend just a minute sort of talking about what happened with your staffing in 2021. You don't need to name names, but I think it would be helpful to talk about who was there when you arrived and what was going on in the fall.
Absolutely. So yeah, when I arrived last March, we had a strong team. We had a fundraising person along with stewardship. We had a communications person who was our techie, and they weren't accidentally a techie. And then we also had someone who managed our volunteer program, as before COVID, we had a very robust mission volunteer program that would travel to 3 of the 5 countries that we're in, managing about 1,400 volunteers, 95 teams or so a year. So very robust program, along with some interns. And throughout the year, as you mentioned earlier, the Great Resignation happened. So we had all 3 of our associate director positions left within the first 6 months of my arrival. And it was just a challenge to try to fill those roles, a scramble, and of course, to achieve our goals during the year.
Right. And I think it was people just found other opportunities. Can you say a little bit about how many people you should have working at Mustard Seed if
Yeah,
all
so I would say we're about an office of 12 in the US,
Mhm.
which supports a lot of programming throughout the world. So we're really a
Mhm.
global organization, but here in the US, we should have about 12. And right now we're at about 8, I would say.
Ooh, yeah, 8, down by a third. Not a pretty situation. And you've got some robust enterprise level technology powering lots of things. So it's not like you're using spreadsheets. You've got the right investment in the systems that you're using. So, all of this sort of came to bear in the fall as you and your executive director were planning your end of year campaign. Can you say a little bit about what you were thinking as you were trying to figure out how to execute a plan that would actually raise the funds that you needed for the end of the year?
Well, let me back up a few months. So in the summer, we had lost 2 of our 3 employees. And essentially, we're a very heavy third and fourth quarter fundraising team. Our giving day is in September, Giving Tuesday, of course, November, and then end of year is the month of December. So at first thought, panic struck, like, what are we going to do? We don't have enough people to do the work. We're not going to hit our goals. We have children and adults around the world who literally depend on us. But I would think the first thing that we did was we just took the first step. It's the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, right? So we had to get a plan. We had to sit down. We had to focus, turn off all the noise, the distractions, the calls from volunteers that didn't move the needle, and just focus on what had to happen. And in doing so, we reached out to a few people in our network, including you, Maureen, to connect us with people to help us get some of those things done that we didn't have the skill set to do.
Did you have to change the kinds of things that were going to happen in your Giving Day, September, and end of year campaigns, or were you really able to kind of make it work without substantive changes in how you were planning on raising the
I
money?
would say we went with the strategy less is more. So we stuck
Mhm,
to our story, we stuck to our guns, and we told that story, and we
mhm,
saw really great results. We probably weren't as techy or as flashy as we'd like to be. There really wasn't a lot of segmenting. There really wasn't a lot of excitingness, as you could say, to the direct mail, to the social campaigns, to the email
right,
campaigns. But we stuck to our mission. We told our
mhm,
story. We relied on volunteers more heavily than we would have in the past, and
mhm.
we just told that story nonstop. Yeah.
As I recall, you kind of went back to what had been working. And you said, if we've got to lose some fluff and flash, at least we know, and we've got data to prove it, that if we focus on doing these things, telling our story well, and a certain number of email messages and things like that, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, we really went to the basics, like
Mhm,
Laura, our executive director, she was reading an article at some point in September, and the article basically said, find your content first and then build
mm,
your story. So timely, I was in Jamaica for my first experience to visit our work, to visit our homes, our children, and this young lady who's over my right shoulder, Joy Jennings, she lives in Mandeville, Jamaica.
mhm,
She's 11 years old. As you could tell by her smile, she is just the light of the world in Jamaica. And we saw this photo, and Laura and I were sitting in a meeting together thinking, what are we going to do? And then we looked at the photo that was over my shoulder and said, we're going to talk about joy. And we're going to talk about all
mhm.
the things that our donors, our volunteers do to impact her life and the other 600 children and adults who live at Mustard Seed.
Yeah, that's right. It's the story that makes people feel a feeling. You feel a feeling, you take an action. That's sort of the two step that just works with engagement work, no matter what your mission is. So, what kinds of tasks did you find yourself having to pick up personally? Whether you sort of did it once until you found somebody else to take it over, or hey, Eric, you're running our audience lists in Razor's Edge, for example.
I will say Laura and I both learned to delegate really well. So we went to new places, we tried new avenues. Uh,
Mhm.
as I've explained, our organization clearly is global, So we relied on some of our folks in Jamaica to tell the story. They're the boots on the ground. So without a communications person who was traveling to Jamaica to get those stories, we asked the people directly, can you tell the story to our folks? So we had them do that. We relied on a new mail house. So that was something new that we had tried. We lost our designer. They took care of the design. They took care of the segmenting. They scrubbed our data. And that was really great to rely on them. For myself, I found myself posting social media, writing the narratives, building the content for that, creating the Facebook ads, the social ads, the Google ads, and just trying a whole lot of new stuff. Found myself coding, which is a place I've never been before. And we saw some great success for our end of year.
What of those things that you picked up that you kind of had to learn on the fly did you really enjoy?
You know, I kind of laughed when I said I entered the world of coding, but it's kind of fun. You know, it's really a challenge. It's tricky, but it's kind of baptism by fire. You learn real quick what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, that's how we get the badge of accidental techie around here. Is I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. I
think I only broke the website once, so that was pretty good.
That's pretty good. And was it at a moment where it was critical that that website be up and functioning? 5 minutes before your email campaign was going to drop?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Donation form disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you said a few minutes ago about we didn't worry so much about segmentation. We didn't worry so much about doing something new, which I think, I preach that a lot, which is you need to segment your list. You need to try to find a way to tell your story in a new way to capture people's hearts and minds and get their support. Did you feel worried about stopping doing some of those things, or did you say, I can't, and so worrying about it isn't really going to change anything?
Yeah, like you, I think I pull from the playbook that you really need to personalize your message and you really need to segment it. And the first question by our mail house was, well, are you gonna segment? Are you gonna have a string ask? Are you gonna personalize it? And this was probably November 15th, and we said, no, we don't have time. We don't have the bandwidth. And I was absolutely nervous that we were not going to hit goals. We were not going to drive revenue. Our mission was not going to succeed. And surprisingly was very happy with the results.
How much, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question, so you can pass at any point, but it just strikes me because you are a lean team normally, and we're a mini team and continue to be for those critical months at the end of 2021. Did you have to tell anyone on your board or folks who are in leadership that aren't part of the direct fundraising and communication world for Mustard Seed? Did you have to set expectations differently to say, hey, there's a lot of fingers crossed here? Or did you just say, this is operational, we got it, there's no story to tell?
So I think our board was in on it every step of the way. So they knew, but expectations were still there to hit those marks and to hit those goals. Again, I refer to the children and adults that we provide care for. They rely on us. So to say too bad, so sad, we didn't hit the goal is not an option. And so, essentially, like I said, Laura and I, we removed all distractions. We focused. We met weekly. We talked about what are the big rocks we have to move forward right now. And we accomplished those. So again, it was the letter writing, it was the email writing, the content, scheduling, talking to donors, following up with donors who received the mailing, who received the emails, and just kept the conversations going.
Were you, other than your mail house, which I know in years past you managed all of that work in-house, and I'm sure that sounds very familiar to people who are watching right now. Mail house can be seen as a luxury sometimes. Were there anything else about running your campaigns or just getting your general communications out that you found the ability to outsource? Did you find anybody who could build a thing or fill a gap in the short term, whether it was a new partnership or folks you've been working with in other ways?
Yeah, so a partnership that we've had for a long time, DNL Omni Media has been just doing a yeoman's job on our website, our team raisers. One of the things that I failed to mention earlier is that, again, we did have a very robust mission volunteer program, and that was funding about 40 to 50% of our budget in 2019. And as you can imagine, when COVID hit, mission trips stopped. That was about a $2 million revenue loss right from the get-go. So we had to figure that out. For the first time ever, we were doing a virtual peer-to-peer platform, and we relied very heavily on DNL to build that for us, to keep the communication chain going, the marketing going, so that we could focus on the end of year stuff.
That's so smart. And it's good that you had a relationship with them. They sort of knew your style and kind of how you do things, and they know the technology. So I was so glad to hear that you could leverage that instead of spreading yourselves even more thin.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've got volunteers, right? You've got some folks in place who had already been producing some content. Did you change anything about your expectations for what they were going to do for you?
I would say yes. We went to them all through the summer, all through the fall, telling them, look, we need your help. We need to rely on you. We need you to spread our story, to tell our story, both with people who know us and with people who don't know us. And we found that at the end of the year, a lot of our long-term loyal donors who hadn't renewed were coming through in big, big ways because of the people asking them. Mm-hmm. So it kind of made it nice when you've only got a team of 2 asking for money to have teams of volunteers in the hundreds talking to people. That was a huge help.
Yeah, it's not just your message to carry. And that's true. I mean, I think we often miss out on bringing more people in to be fundraisers for us or spread information about our work and give people opportunities to get involved. You kind of had to do that because you were just getting it out the door.
Again, right? So earlier I was saying that I was posting social. So theoretically, if you've got a high-functioning development team, the second that letter went out, you'd be on the phone calling donors, asking them to renew, trying to bring back those lapsed donors, talking to them, getting to know them. But instead, I had to run a digital campaign. So to have those volunteers do those calls for us or to help in addition to us was a major, major win.
So smart. I mean, again, work with what you have. It's sort of there's a Mission to Mars movie or to the moon movie where they dump a box out. Like, I've got 3 wrenches and a piece of plexiglass and a pipe and a pair of pantyhose. How do we put all this stuff together to kind of let us land safely? So it was a time for ingenuity for you. What do we have and how can we deploy that stuff?
And relying on our vendors to train us, because you can't go to your vendor every time. I mean, that gets expensive to change a donation form, to change a website, to fix the code. Like you've just got to learn those things. Yeah.
And I'm also hearing, and I say this because I know you and Laura well, it's attitude. I think failure was not an option. Not pulling this off was not an option. So you two just were in tight alignment about it's going to happen. It's not if, it's how.
Yep.
Exactly. Helpful to have leadership sort of standing by. Do you feel like you and Laura were in lockstep about the decisions that you made around programmatic changes? I know you were much newer than Laura is to the organization. Did you feel like she was ready to listen and partner with you when you made suggestions for pivoting?
Absolutely. I mean, I think right from the get-go, first conversation I had with Laura when interviewing, she said, I'm here to learn from you and you're here to learn from me. So we just took that as a partnership and built on each other's strengths and went with history, tried new things, and just made it all vibe and work well. Yeah.
Were you interviewing for your open positions during end of year? What happened?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have been interviewing since April of 2021, and it's just been a constant slog, but you've got to do it because you got to meet people, you got to talk to people, and you got to do your best to fill the role during this great resignation period.
That's right. So before we pivot into, all right, let's talk about finding people. Let's talk about what you've been doing, anything you're observing in our industry around employer pinch. How'd your end of year campaign turn out for you? Is it a happy story, a level set story?
Yes, we were not where we budgeted we would be.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say that earlier I mentioned that in 2019 we had almost 100 volunteer teams, $2 million of revenue. That was lost for 2021 entirely. We raised more money in 2021 than we did in 2019 without mission trips. So that is a 180 pivot, a totally new world for us, and we're just going to look to build on that, especially as we look to bring back mission trips this year. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So didn't hit goal, but feeling good about
Really good.
where you landed.
Yeah.
Especially like you had two arms tied behind your back for some of this stuff.
Exactly.
What would you do differently, Eric? If you're, knock wood, you're not, but if you're in the same situation as you get ready for fundraising work, the gearing up of that in the second half of the year, what will you do differently than with a bit more experience in living like that under your belt?
I think be prepared a little bit earlier. I think earlier I said we were talking to the mail house November 15th. I'm not joking. The letter for end of year, which typically goes out the first week of December, dropped the day before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So we were crunched to the clock. So I think I would leverage a few more resources, maybe pay a little bit more for more freelance work, whether it be writing or someone who can just kind of build an email campaign for you. Right now that we're sort of in the same boat where we still don't have a communications person. So we are working with some freelancers, and we're already talking about Giving Day for September, because if we can get that campaign built and in a box. If we hire somebody, great, it's ready to go. They can tweak it. And if not, it's ready to go and we can send it out.
That's so smart. And, nonprofits, I'll make a general statement, are, in my experience, about 80% reactive and about 20% proactive. It's tax day every day for nonprofits. There's always a level of scramble. So if you've got the luxury of having a fully staffed team, may it last, but it might not. So use the people you have to get as much teed up, because I don't think we're done with this resignation. I think there are employees in places right now who are ready to get in on the jump. So you can look around your team and think about the last stat I read on LinkedIn, and you might have seen this too, Eric, is 29% of nonprofits nationwide, all sizes, all budgets, are missing at least 2 critical staff members. You can't outsource everything.
No, you can't. You'd be broke, really.
So you've got to use the resources, the people that you've got while they're there. Whether it's something that you are expecting or it's completely unexpected, I think we're still going to be experiencing a bit of jumping around for the next year before the dust finally settles.
I'd also add, Maureen, that there's the opportunity to be brave in trying new things. So we have 2 interns on our team who one's a senior in college, one's a junior in college. One runs social, one does video and content. The person who does video and content was literally doing code for our website, and she had only taken 1 class in it. But we trusted her, we worked with her, and it had a phenomenal outcome, and just kind of letting people learn those skills, try them. It's okay to be a little messy, it's nonprofit life. It's not ever going to be perfect. Our founder always says, sometimes you've got to give up the great for the good, and that's okay.
Yeah. Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. That's what they say. And embrace the mess a bit. Don't expect perfection. Have a learning stance. Try stuff. And if you've got people, no matter whether they sit in a certain seat in a certain team, that you think have interest and aptitude, have that conversation with those people, because you might have someone already on your team in one way or another who can happily extend to fill a gap that you're experiencing someplace else. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, everybody's looking right now for people. Not for nothing. I'm going to put the jobs link in case you're like, wow, that mustard seed team sounds like a great team. I would love to learn more about them. Why is it so hard right now? Why is everybody feeling like there aren't enough qualified applicants to go around?
I don't know the answer to that, but I know that in the conversations I've had, it seems that it's obviously a looker's market, right? And so if the big dogs are looking for people, so are the little dogs, and sometimes the little dogs just lose out to maybe resources, it may be location, it may be size of your team. There's a million different reasons for people to pick one job or the other. But I find that most people that we've talked to in the last year are generally on the same timeline with 3 or 4 other companies. And it's kind of forcing the employer's hand to make a very quick decision, which may not always be the right one.
Yeah, we've had some peaks and valleys in our interview experience. When you're talking with candidates, right? When you're interviewing people, first interview, second interview, whatever it is, are there things you're looking for, you're listening for, that make you feel like someone might be worth a quick offer?
For us, it's very much about mission. We are a mission-centric team. If you are not into what Mustard Seed does, if you aren't in love with it 125%, that's really pivotal for us. We're also looking for someone who's willing to get their hands dirty. I mean, at any day at a nonprofit, you could be the janitor or the CEO. There is just no telling what you're going to get. So we're looking for someone who's flexible, willing to work hard, willing to go the distance, and just someone that's looking to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, it's attitude.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
it's attitude. You gotta be a cultural fit. And so, where have you looked? What kinds of things have you done to try to fill these vacancies as you were coding and writing email and interviewing people all throughout the holidays?
Yeah, so we've gone through all the standard routes. We've done Indeed, we've done ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, you name it. We've posted on Handshake through all the colleges in the local region. We've talked to our volunteers, our donors in different regions of the country. We're now starting to post in different parishes that are in the area that may have young adults who may not know they're looking for the next opportunity. So yeah, we're just trying to get creative in any way possible and sharing it, talking about it. It's kind of like a one-on-one sales pitch to a lot of people. Yeah.
It's just like major donor.
Yeah, it sounds like a major gift solicitation. Yeah.
Do I have an opportunity for you to get involved in a wonderful organization, but we're going to pay you instead of the other way around? I've known you for a while. You are an optimistic guy. You are an energetic, glass half full guy. Did you have a moment here at all in the last 6 months that it just took you a little time to bounce back from? Or have you been able to really keep like your compass point steady throughout this barren wasteland of hiring?
I would say yes. I think there's been a few times where we've offered the role and either another organization beat us out for the person, or it just wasn't going to be a good fit in the end. And those have been really depressing moments because you really get excited about somebody. You put a lot of time and effort into them. But that's okay because the right person will come along. What's meant to be will be. So I would say, don't settle. Keep looking for the right candidate and get on live stream with Miss Maureen Walbioff and put your plug in.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. I think it's all about having faith. Whether it's in an employment sense, faith in my leadership, faith in my volunteers, faith in the people that remain, because I think that's always a worry when a migration starts out of a team. Somebody else is likely to leap out, and you saw a little bit of that. Would you, if you had a magic wand and could turn back time, would you change anything about sort of your response to these gaps as we kind of close it up for the conversation this afternoon? You gave a couple of tips. What else you got, Eric, for folks who are feeling really fried and crispy?
I think it's talking about it, being transparent, there's a great story that I love to tell. We had for Giving Tuesday, we talked about our programs in Zimbabwe where we feed children who, some of them may not even have parents, and so we're giving them a simple meal once a day, 80 cents a meal. And we're talking to lots of people. And we had a donor this year that came through and basically sent us $100,000. And he's been a long-term donor of Mustard Seed, but it was because somebody else talked to him, because we had talked to that person, just telling them about where we were, what was going on, and just reminding them the mission still goes on. It's not like these 600 kids and adults can just say, I don't need food today.
Never mind.
I don't need therapy. I'm good. No, they're with us for life. And I think it's just keeping that focus,
Yeah. Keeping the trains running, doing what needs to be done. And also, I think that networking when you're looking for staff, 1 degree from someone who might make a comment on a friend's LinkedIn page, those kinds of networking things you do naturally. Leaders, fundraising leaders do naturally. And I think it's time now for that kind of recruitment. It's slower. It can be frustrating. But I think if you're willing to wait for the right candidate because you've got other ways of getting the work done and you're not hiring out of desperation, you're going to have a better outcome. And the new person will be worth the wait, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Eric, I could talk to you all day, and have in some cases. So thank you so much for coming on and sort of shining your optimistic light in the rear view, looking at how on earth you actually made it through 2021, down some really important people, and how you kind of figured out how to use what you have. I think nonprofits are generally good at that. And around staffing right now, you have to be ready for a gap. You have to have the right partners in place and people that you can ask to help you continue to make things run, at least in the interim. I'm wishing you all the luck, like I'll hear when you've got some good candidates. Everybody, if you are interested in learning more about Mustard Seed, or you know someone who works in marketing and communications, has an interest in joining a really tight, nice team, please check out Mustard Seed's website and check out Eric's LinkedIn page. We will be back next week. I'm going to be speaking with Casson Suter from Phone to Action / Canary, because they just changed their name. We're going to be talking about grassroots organizing, advocacy trends, trying to make sure that the political wheels are turning in the direction that make the world a better place. So please join Casson and I next Friday, the 18th, I believe, right here at 12:30 Eastern Time. Eric, thank you so much again. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks again. Bye. Bye-bye.